Organissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today at www.organissima.com. Organissima, New York. Your beauty is our duty.
Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio, with your host, Hurricane H. New day, new show. Interesting, great topic. It is a topic that I think we all need to be mindful of. It's a topic where we connect our mind, body, spirit, the whole nine, in this very difficult life we live. I mean, life is crazy. Life is a hustle. And too many things going on in our lives, whether we intentionally or unintentionally, but we do. And understanding how to work with the dynamics, how to self-talk, how to deal with other people is always a key. And how do we balance all that? So with me today, I have someone who actually specializes in this. Now, first of all, she is a fellow podcaster, and so she does her own shows and talks about this stuff. But not only that, she's also, she goes on podcasts and shows and talks about what all that connection is and how to make it, how to manifest things properly, how to operate better in this space we call life. So without any further ado, I have Naranjan Nota. Hi, how are you? Welcome to the show.
I am well, thank you. Thank you for having me on your show. Thank you.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And again, it is a dear topic. So because whatever we do, we live. And to live, you need to know how to operate. And most people think they do. We all think we do, but we all struggle with it in our own ways. And it is always important to understand what's working, what's not working, and how to even interact. I mean, there's so much stuff. I mean, in multiple shows, we've been talking about just the interactions and today's world and social media, how to deal with conflict, how to deal with things. I mean, work, business, stress, all this stuff is impactful. Now, you have your own dynamics on how to kind of guide people and insight. And hopefully today we'll shed some of that to our audiences and just give them some light, and enlighten them, if you want to call it. As a matter of fact, our mission is educate, enlighten, inspire, and motivate. So it's really core. Okay. So let's talk about your story and what got you into this particular space of work.
Life. This thing called life is what got me into it. And this thing called life is my biggest lesson and my biggest teacher. Well, as it is for all of us, right?
It is a big school. It is the school. I mean, it really throws in a lot of stuff at us, and we pick and we drop, we stand, it's a struggle day in, day out. It's just how do we? Some people live, some people survive. The idea is to live and a fulfilled life, I guess a positive life, an enjoyable life, and not just struggle through life. Just we are born, and time is really fast. I mean, you blink in an eye, and years go by. We were just in a pandemic, it's gone, and then before you know it, it's we know what the world goes on. We have wars, we have this. And, you reflect on your own age, and sometimes you're like, where did it all go? I mean, literally, I can speak to that. I can see myself just being a teenager and, I'm in the 50s, and that's like, ooh. But, I enjoy that part because at the end of the day, you live and you want to enjoy the most of it. And unfortunately, not everybody does, though. Not everybody lives the life that they should. They live the life that somehow is given to them, but they're not making the right moves. And that's usually a tough one. And I in your opinion, is going to be very important in this because you said you started doing this because of life. So what was life like that got you into this?
I'm a great believer that everything happens for a reason, and there's a reason for everything.
That is true.
I'm going to start there. This is what we're here to unravel, and this is what life is about. Is for us to look at these experiences and how do I look at these experiences? Do I look at them from it's a hard life, that it's going to be a struggle? Or do I look, or do I get to look at them from a perspective of it's an opportunity for me to learn something more about myself?
Love it. That's deep. That's pretty deep. And you're right. I mean, it's there's so many events that happen to us, from the birth to whatever we are in our path and journey. There are things that make us and surroundings and entourage, I guess, events that occur. And I think we all are subjected to some of those without choice, especially at early on days. And sometimes those are the ones that make us and make our personalities and how we cope with the world. That doesn't mean necessarily the right way to do it, but it is the reality. And I think most of us, if not all of us, probably make that same assumption. That's just the way it is. But we do have choices, and we can make a difference. Now, your work is to help people make that choice, make the difference. But again, going back to the idea of like your work, live, you've been doing some stuff to move yourself and also help others, and guide them to a better and connect those, self connections, whether, again, because we are doing a lot of things. And sometimes we don't know if we're doing the right thing or the bad thing. Do we even believe in some things, not believe in things? Do we operate correctly? Do we listen to, I guess, influences and just take them for what they are worth? It's not really, we don't have a magic formula, but there is a magic formula. At least, I tend to believe that there is. You said a key word, that everything happens for a reason. The show is happening for a reason. Everything that occurs in life happens for a reason, and only happens because it's meant to be happening and at the right time and the right space, and everything. Most of us, we don't sometimes think about it that way. Right. We're like, why, but we don't reflect on like the sequence of events that happens before until you get to a point like, oh wow, this kind of links back to XYZ. Had I made one move to the right, things would have been different. I made to the left. What would have been if I took a different path? And that's the thing. We don't reflect. And I think we all tend to make the mistake of not really looking at us, and we just look at everything else. So what do you say to all that?
There is never a right and a wrong. So you'd reference this just now in terms of there's right ways of doing things, there's wrong ways of doing things. I'm not a believer of that. I'm a believer of everything is happening, and who is judging you whether you turned left or you turned right is right or wrong. So look at yourself of who is judging that. Because from a soul perspective, there really isn't a right and a wrong. It's ultimately a place of, are you ready for more?
We should all be, I think we're all always ready for more and more and more.
Are we though? No,
again, I that's why I say I think we are, and to your point, I don't know. I mean, the idea is that we believe that we are, and we want more. Sometimes, to your point, maybe if you think about it deep enough, you're like, well, I'm not sure I want more. We all have that kind of like, I'm good, I'm in a good place. But you're right. It's a very difficult, aspect of life when you start deep thinking, right? And you're right. I mean, what is right? What is wrong? What is normal? What is abnormal? And we all have these notions because we were told what they are based on certain criteria that were given to us through media, to parents, teaching, society. And we apply those just literally verbatim. And very few of us actually take the time to like, well, what does that mean? And you're right. So when you start reflecting on it from that aspect of it, when you start thinking of your being in this world, in this universe, and compare yourself to the vast universe that we live in and everything else around us, you start, but that's the thing. Not everybody's pondering and wondering and just thinking deep. We don't do that. I mean, typically we're so caught up in day-to-day life that we're not into that mode of like, oh, let's take a pause. We don't. At least I don't think most of us do. And I think I'm also guilty to a degree. I mean, I do kind of take some time at least make an effort to do it. But am I doing a great job at it? Probably not. And, I try to. I try to make the right moves. Well, again, the key word here is not really right or wrong, but the idea, the moves that move me, if you want to call it that, the things that drive me to what my end game is, at least what I think it is, and assuming that everybody's going through that same route. So now your story, you had some event in your life that occurred. First of all, is it okay to share some of those? Those are the I guess the moments of life that made you who you are today and gave you the I guess the focus to do the work you do today.
Absolutely. I think I'm not unusual. I'm not unusual in displaying that life will present its challenges, because the reality of every single soul on this planet, we're all here to experience the pain, the trauma, the hurt. We're all here to explain it. It's designed this way. So my journey of hardship and difficult experiences, relationships with myself and others is not unique. We've all been there, and we all will continue to go there if we don't choose to heal it. I chose to heal it because for me, those lessons got louder and louder and louder before they debilitated me going, stop. I got to look at life from a different lens. I need different sets of tools to help me through this experience. And there are a variation of experiences, from health challenges to relationship challenges to professional challenges. So let's keep it high level of professional challenges, to wanting a huge desire to fit in, because as human beings, we all have this desire to be part of the community. It's human nature. I want to belong. Migrating from England, coming to Canada, with a professional background, educated from England, coming here, wanting to fit in, and slowly recognizing that I was a square peg trying to fit in a round hole. Going through the corporate structure for probably about 15 years, very tumultuous, of here's your pink slip, now we are restructuring, contract is ended sooner than we thought, and all those scenarios in between, an emotional roller coaster. That in itself is an element of life lesson, going, why is it so difficult for me to stay in this environment that I feel and that society has taught me to stay in? Fast forward, the universe had greater plans. So sitting in an office 9 to 5 in downtown Toronto wasn't my path. So it kept turfing me out. You're not here. Here's your pink slip. Contract finished. Done. It kept pushing me out. And those lessons had to get really loud for me to say 15 years later, because we're resilient beings, right?
Yes, sir.
You're done. For me to say, okay, I get it.
Here's a sign. It
was a massive sign.
This is it. Well, so let me just back, in that same discussion, because first of all, I can relate to you 200%, 1,000,000%, because first of all, you've migrated, so did I. I try to fit in the corporate world you had 15 years. I try to do it for 28 years. So trust me, it's been brutal, and it's always been that debate. And at certain times during that, I mean, you've always, like, I actually personally tried to get out of it multiple times, where I said, this is it. This is the moment where I got to do my own thing. And I've done that to a degree with some success. And sometimes, you get caught up in, like, oh, I can still do this. And because I do love what I do. I mean, and I'm not talking about just the media part. This is actually my newest, piece of mind. This is where I find myself the best right now. But what I did, I mean, I've always been in sales, which is all about people and enjoying that momentum. But also I had a career path that was fulfilling to a degree. But it was literally what I was told when I was a kid. You go to school, you get a degree, you want to jump into that ladder, of corporate ladder, and you want to race. Now, coming to America, just like that movie.
Mm.
You know, it was the dream. And again, we can talk a whole hour about whether it's a dream or not a dream. But there's a lot of dreams out there, right? But the fact is, that's how you just have your settings, made. And a lot of people have the same vision, like, well, we're gonna go to a better world, and maybe it is a better world compared to where you are. And again, we don't even know. I didn't give it a shot there. My shot was there. So when I got in, it was always competitive. Like, how do I make it? There's all these people that have probably just as good, if not better, skills. I have to fit in, to your point, and you have to struggle with it. And to what price you're paying, and you pay the price. You don't realize it, but in time you realize, like, I worked 7 days a week. I put in a lot of hours. Was that even worth it? Yes, I made the money in a way, but was the money worth the time spent and stuff like that? Was it worth the headache, the stress that comes with it? And you're right, at a given point, you're like, what the hell? I'm only making somebody's dream come true. I still haven't fulfilled my dream fully. I'm not independent. I'm still dependent on those jobs. And it is a tough place. And I think, again, majority of the world is struggling in the same space and the same, spin. We're like literally in that rat race, and we're doing exactly that as robots. And we don't stop for a minute. And some of us do. And again, I'm not going to generalize, because there are people who catch on to this pill better, like the red pill and the blue pill, and they get the red one early. Some of us take it a little later than others. But again, life happens, right? We all have. The structure of the society is you need to have money, the mortgages, this, that, the other, and then we have all these influences. You want to buy stuff, and so you're looking at that, and you don't stop to like, wait, I got to do this. And when, like, I'm more into entrepreneurship now, and in the last few years, and the more I got into it, the more I realized that that's where you need to be. You want to have that pure independence. You want to be where you're really feeling yourself and doing stuff. Yes, is it easy? No, nothing is easy in life. You got to work towards whatever those, but you might work a certain amount of time hard, and then the rest is a lot easier. As opposed to, you might just have that routine. You wake up, you do the same thing, boom, 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 and it literally becomes just monotonous. You just day in, day out, doing the same. So I got caught up in that same, cycle for a long time. And I did have breaks, and believe it or not, in those breaks were my better moments. But then you get caught up. Oh, you got to go back. There's an opportunity. You can do great here, and I'll do. And then to your point, talking about pink slips, or this company shuts down. I was on a trip. I come back on a Sunday, Monday morning. Well, we got to let everybody go. We're closing in New York. Oops. Okay, that's it. Now your life was made based on a certain income and so on and so forth. Now all that stuff is gone, and now you have to keep up the pace with everything else that's behind you with nothing, and you have to restart. Again, you have to figure out a way. And that happened. That scenario happened many times over. I mean, I can say in my 20, almost 3 decades. It happened about 5 times, where it's like all up and then crash, all up and then crash. And you know what doesn't hurt you makes you stronger in a way. So you kind of learn that, but again, how many times can you endure that? And, like you sacrifice sometimes. You're like, well, you have a family, you got to do stuff, you got to take care of business. But sometimes just about when you're ready to kind of just take off. And then this happens where you have plans, and I need some more of this. I'm not there yet. But what is a good time? And we all wait for that good time, but what is that good time? When is it a good time to really stop and just reset? Most of us are afraid of that, and that's the challenge. Now, you really alluded well that 15 years enough. I'm not doing this. I love what you said. You try to fit in a format that is not going to happen, but we all do that. And the good news is, and I know this for a fact because I've had a lot of discussions and I've read about it. I've listened to a lot of shows. Post-pandemic, I think the pandemic did create a change in a lot of ways. Many people realized that this is not the life I wanted, and they kind of reset themselves. Now, that was almost not planned, right? Actually, it was not planned for anyone. Nobody knew about it, but the fact that it happened, but people kind of readjusted. But not everyone did. I mean, life is still the same for a lot of us. But it is a very difficult task, for humans in general to actually comprehend that. Are you meant to be doing this? Are you doing exactly what you really are supposed to be doing? And you said it. I mean, there are signs. The question is, do we ignore the signs, or do we go with the signs?
Right.
I think we all make the mistake of ignoring the signs because we're afraid.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing. I mean, I do believe in you need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that is not like easy to, it's easier to say than than do, right? Take action that way is not easy because you have to, oh my God, I got to make adjustments. How is it going to be? Who's going to pay my bills? And that's the other thing, because we get caught up in the material world too much that we're so deep in the hole that it's very hard to crawl out of it and kind of make it. And that's, I think that's all our problem. I mean, as humans, we make that. And it doesn't help. Society doesn't help with marketing. I mean, today, everything is about how much you have, what car you drive. And we all get caught up in that mix. Listen, it's nothing wrong with wanting to have a better life, wanting to have some material stuff. It's okay. Those are the luxuries of life. But they shouldn't be the ultimate target because, you know, and if you pay the price for them, you might not live. And then that's what I refer to as surviving as opposed to living. So that's just, again, so that was just me relating to what you said, but I actually experienced it over and over, and I'm almost guaranteeing that people watching right now and listening, damn, I'm either now in there or been there, or I'm still stuck in there. Is this going to be my life? And maybe today is going to be the awakening, like, oops, blow up, you know, eureka, maybe I got to change my life. And you know what? There was nothing wrong with that. So now that was your cycle. That was your, you know, momentum. You decided 15 years, this is not for you. And again, by the way, you said it, it's relationship, it's work, it's all of the above, everything. But then you had that moment. So what was that main moment for you that's it? I'm done. I'm doing what I want.
When the house comes tumbling down.
Oh, I know that feeling. Yeah.
So when everything is influenced from my health to my emotional health, to my professional health, all of those categories were like a neon light blazing at me, going, oh, I need to look at this. What is this? And that's what forced me to really look at it from the perspective of, what am I really here to do? And even at that question, it takes time, patience, and a heck of a lot of courage to allow that to unfold and unfold and unfold. Because when you ask that question, you're not going to get the answer straight away. You'll get a portion of the answer. It's not like 1 + 1 = 2. When you ask a loaded question like that, you might get 1.2, or should I say 2.2 of an answer. You won't get the full gamut. If you got the full response, you'd be scared out of you and you probably wouldn't even make a move. So it comes in increments.
I tend to agree. You're right. And but I think that's the part that everybody is worried about, is that there is no solid answer. And I think most of us expect to have that full answer before we make that leap.
Of course. That's how we've been conditioned, right?
Yeah, it has to be solid, to your point, 1 + 1 = 2. So we know it's guaranteed, but there are no guarantees. And we do have controls to some of it, but we're afraid to take those reins and kind of, you know, just make it happen and kind of take the risk. And that's the other thing. Risk is big, and we tend to live in the cautious space as opposed to risky business. You know, but again, in your case, you said it. It was neon sign. It was in your face. This is it. And that's a point of no return for you. That's it. You never look back. And that's the biggest, you know, I think aspect of a lot of us, is that we continuously look in the mirror. I mean, not even in the mirror. I think we turn back and look at the back as opposed to looking forward, because we're looking at everything behind, and, you know, we're thinking about all that, and, you know, are we going to be good? We have all these doubts about ourselves. And I think that's the discussion about you and yourself. Then, of course, everybody else. But if you cannot have that discussion with you, an honest discussion, I think that's the difficulty that we all have. At least people watching and listening, they probably can relate to that to a degree. We need to just, is it for me? Is it not for me? Am I doing the right thing? Am I not doing the right thing? Can I make this move? Do I need to have everything? Again, talking about entrepreneurial business and just taking the leap in the business world, or just being your independent. Most of us want it to be all planned out correctly. Like we have all the dots, and there all the T's crossed, and like we have no error margin. And that is not a reality of things. No one succeeded in their lives that we know of in today's world has had it all prepped, and figured it out all before they actually got, started. You get started to a degree and then you move on. So now that was your point. No return, no coming back. That's it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I want to preface it that it takes a lot of courage to make these moves. But in the same token, it wasn't a hard yes, no decision made, everything's rosy. That journey of looking back in the rear view and sorting out what I see in the rear view takes time. And each one of those things, emotions, experiences, belief systems, get unraveled slowly. We unpack it slowly. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not like Christmas, Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Easter, and all of those holidays come all at once. You don't eat the entire box of candies at Halloween in one sitting, even though some people do, but that's not the objective. It's to unpack them slowly. So as a soul, as a human being, we can tolerate and we can truly digest that experience for what it really is. And be kinder to ourselves, because as we started right at the beginning of this conversation, this is spiritual soul school that we are living on. This is the experience. So be kind to yourself as you unpack one heavy rock at a time that we collect from all these life experiences. It's not a hard, fast rule. Go easy, take your time, and what we know for sure, just as you have shared, is every step we take, we gain more awareness and more knowledge and insight. So it's like you're driving in the fog. The further you drive, the more you see. The further you drive, the more you see. The more you unpack from the past, the more you can breathe, as that weight literally and energetically is not holding you down. When you've had a tumultuous experience in life, it feels heavy. It's like, wow, those decades, they were hard. But when you unpack it and let it go, you get a new lease on life, literally and figuratively, because you are lighter in your step. That's the objective.
Well, thank you for that. Well, so there's one element that is important to get note right now, is that despite your past, despite all those weights and all the things that, like to your point, that you're going to unpack, it's also how you look at things, right? I tend to believe that everything that happened, to your point, happened for a reason, and it's still happening for a reason. So all those are wisdoms and experiences that you can use to your advantage. See, it's not all empty. No. You just got to take the best of what you have. That's your ammo for going forward, and then dump the rest that you don't need. So if you look at it that way, you might be in a better position. And again, it's a shift of mindset, right? So you want all right, what I have, what I can use, what I don't have to use. This is garbage, out. This is the good stuff. Let me get this fuel, keeps me going. So you get that motivation based on that. But again, there is also a discussion and an awareness level that you need to have. Otherwise, you're not going to see it, because all you're going to see is the bad, the bad, the bad. And then it's going to really just push you down on the ground, and you're just going to be like literally anchored to the ground, and you're not going to be able to move, because then now depression, anxiety, and all stuff. Now you keep referring to the spirit and the energy. Unfortunately, I don't think that, regardless of religion, we all are spiritual beings, and I don't think any religion can debate that, or change that, because we all believe in it to a degree. But the fact is, we tend to just look at the material world. We don't think about the spiritual piece of it, the energy mode, that all of it, all of the world is energy. Everything around us is energy. How do we connect with that? This discussion has energy. People around you give you energy, and so all these things are important. and we're not balanced correctly sometimes because we're caught up in all these dimensions. If you can flow correctly between this and understand your balances, there's a good way. And again, that's the energy of positivity. For example, to me, that's core. It's like that's the fuel that keeps me going. And people sometimes like, how do you do it? Well, it beats the alternative. I mean, what am I supposed to just dwell and just like, oh my God, the world sucks and everything is against me? Or I can say, well, these are happening. So what's the message?
Right.
What is it telling me? What do I have to do now? I can make a difference. I can change things, and we have the capability. I think everybody's capable of doing that. It's just a matter of being awakened. Again, that red pill versus the blue pill. Hello, wake up. And some people don't want to wake up. That's the other part. I think it's just because it's a lot more comfortable just to keep the routine. There's no challenge there. I know exactly what I'm going to do. It's a clock works. I'll get up. I know this. Friday comes, TGIF. Monday, oops. It sucks Monday, and that's the same routine. Weekend goes back. Where did it go? And life goes on. And before you know it, like, where did it all go? And I'm going to retire, and then I enjoy my life. Maybe we don't retire. Many people have planned to retire, didn't make it to retirement. As sad as it sounds, it's reality. I mean, again, ironically, I always say the only certain things in life is death. And people, they sometimes look at me like I have three heads, but you have to face this. It's reality. You have to be aware that the end is only a matter of, I mean, we have an expiration date. The minute you're in this world, you're already clocked down. You're already on the countdown. So the question, we don't know when that comes down, so we hope for the best. But at the end of the day, what are we doing to enjoy every moment that we live? And do we really seize control of our lives, or we basically have our controls by everybody else but ourselves? And typically that's what happens. Everybody is driving us but us. And maybe I'm wrong. And what do you think of that? I mean, I really think that's reality of the world today. We're all being driven, and none of us are behind the wheel, or most of us are not.
And that comes down to a perspective of what is the perspective that we're taking? Are we looking at life from the perspective of always out? Focusing on the shiny object syndrome that's happening here and the happening over there, and oh my gosh, look at that shiny object over there, and let me buy this from social media, let me buy this because I got to have it because the Joneses have it and I've got to have a better piece and all that stuff? Or am I looking in the mirror at myself and feeling into what I feel? Another add-on I want to address, you mentioned earlier about the experiences of taking the good from these experiences and trashing the rest. So I'm going to caveat that with every single experience that feels yucky, unpleasant, there will be a positive component to that. Every single yucky experience has a positive experience to it, but it's up to you to find it. Welcome to school.
That is powerful. And you're right. There's always, you said that, and a line came from a movie, The Fifth Element with Bruce Willis a long time ago. I mean,
wow. Yeah.
so there was a scene when everything was just not going well for him, and then talking about pink slip, right? So this guy is actually on this little thing in the window trying to give him some Chinese food, and he get a message, right? And he says, "Take it, I'll give you free, just open it up and I'll give you free food." so it's like, oops, you got fired, right? And it's like, so that was the scene, and he said like, damn, and he got pissed. Was like, you know what? Well, at least I get free food. So it's like, good. You see, good and bad, right?
That's right.
So it's amazing how it's just the way we have the capability. It's really, to your point, is taking every single element. And by the way, I personally say this all the time. There is no failure. Every failure is just another experience that is teaching us to do different and better. And that's it. There is no such thing as failure until we determine. I think we give up to the failure and say, okay, we give in. This is it. There is no such thing as failure. Every single element that we experience has, to your point, a component and why it's happening. And by the way, it should be good, because sometimes that's the driver behind success. Many people would have not made the change without having some tremendous event happening to them in their life and a tragedy or whatever the case, that's like the catapult. Like that's it. This is it. I'm moving. But if everything is peachy, well, you won't worry, right? There's like, there's no sense of urgency. That creates the urgency. And therefore now you're like, all right, time's up. I got to do something for me. And I love what you said about keeping up with the Joneses, basically. I think we all are again, when I keep saying we all are, I tend to believe that based on what I know, what I see, most of us are always in this realm of keeping up with the Joneses. I mean, everything is suggestive to us. And oh my God, they drive, they do this. I have to look good. I have to do this. And what does that mean? I mean, literally, what does that mean? It's what it means to you. And that's the other thing. Do we have our own signature? Do we have our own unique personality? Or do we always are being dressed by other people's opinion? Live by other people's opinion. If I do something for me, whatever I buy, I have to be confident that I want it. And it's not because I want it, because I want to show off to other people, or because the others are pushing me to do this. It's got to be my flavor. Doesn't matter. It can be $1 million property or nothing, but it doesn't matter. I wear something for $5 or I wear something for $5,000. That have to be my choice. But not because someone else is dictating that I should, or or they look at you. Listen, I worked in a company where people judge you based on what you looked and how you dressed, and they'll criticize what you're wearing because that's not fitting with their, I guess, type. And we've all been there. I've never subscribed with that because I don't care if that's how you like to be. Cool for you. I mean, thumbs up. Right? Listen, I like what I look like and what I have. And you know what? Just because I may have money doesn't mean that I have to spend it on certain things. I have other priorities that I'm investing in. Right. And so, but that's how it is. Some people are just looking, they're shallow. They look at all this. Some do it for different reasons, but it doesn't matter what reasons are. It has to be your way, and I'm talking about your comfort zone, because at the end of the day, this is it. And by the way, your loved ones, your family, everybody, that's great to have, and they all have an influence on you. But I do recall that every human being comes alone in this world, that departs alone. We come with zero, possessions, and we take zero possessions with us. Yep. At the end of the day, how do we navigate this realm world? It's how we do it. So we get caught up in these little things, and sometimes it's like thorns, like pulling you like from all over the place. Sure. You got to be able to remove all that and be like so smooth that nothing can grab onto you, and you keep moving slick way and until you achieve your purpose of life. And again, that purpose can be whatever you want it to be. What your purpose may be, not necessarily mine, but at the end of the day, I have to be comfortable with that purpose. Absolutely. So thank you for really bringing that, because I think that was a very great point, that those things that we experience, they are actually the fuel that can change us.
So an add-on to that is, you talked about labels in terms of successes and failures. What if we reversed those words? Because one, we're the ones who give things, places, and people the meaning behind them.
That's right.
We're the one who create that, right? What if we switched them? So our version of failure is really a success. And our version of success is really a failure, because we didn't really learn anything if it becomes a success. We learn more when it's a failure in using the language that we are using. But if we switch the definitions, would that make more sense in terms of our soul growth?
You wouldn't even know the difference. It's funny. I was laughing because when my kids were young, they would not eat fish. So I get fish nuggets and tell them these are chicken nuggets, and they eat them. So yeah, it's funny, but the fact is, I've always thought about that concept, because we all know what people tell us what it is. The labels, to your point, are what it is. A failure is just a definition or name or label that we give to some experience. If we actually have been told all our lives that's what a success looks like, then we all going to refer to as success. I mean, it's like the placebo effect, right? When they do these experiences, right? You get saline and you think that, oh my God, I'm cured, or like, I feel better, but really you got nothing. You didn't get a medication. So it's how your mind, adapts to a certain, I guess, label or dynamics of life. And we are so into this. It's not even funny. Everybody is falling exactly in the same. and it's not, I would say it's sad, but it's amazing when you wake up from it, when you start really like seeing lucid, like clear view, and everybody looks at you like, what's wrong with you? Something's off with you. And now you become really the odd person, and everybody's looking at like, I don't know, there's something's wrong with John or Hurricane.
Yeah.
But that's sometimes how, and believe me, I've had that experience where I talk to people like, you're in the Matrix. I actually believe that we're in the Matrix. This is a Matrix. I mean, quantum physics do actually break down its reality. There's no, times are happening at the same time, the past, the future, and the present. Even there are some scientists that say there's no such thing as, past, future, or present. It's all happening at the same time. We can debate all that as well. But the fact is, this is your experience of life. And I tend to believe that we all are experiencing life from our own lens, as you said earlier. This is like literally the meta world. I mean, we know that now. We know we have meta, right? And so you put a visor on, and you can switch, universes.
Sure.
And so, but my experience, I enter the universe and I get out of the universe. So you enter live, and then now you see the universe, and you can switch the universe. You can literally just move from one to the other, switch the CD, whatever, switch the programming. Yeah, and that's exactly an analogy that we can relate to if you think about it. Now, it sounds deeper than what it is, but it's not that deep if you start really thinking about it. It just takes a minute to start reflecting on things.
Right.
Don't. Because again, it's fear. I mean, again, talking about the Matrix, you take that red pill, there's no coming back.
That's right. You can't unsee what you see.
Once you see it, it's reality, and it sucks for it. Now you have to deal with it. Most people would rather not see the truth.
But perhaps the fear comes from a place of not knowing how to deal with it, because our world and environment says, don't look at it because we don't know what's happening. That's the mainstream. And I would like to think the opposite of how to deal with it is becoming mainstream. There are resources and information out there to support you with what it looks like to observe your life rather than be in it.
Yes.
There's support there. There's resources there, and it's not scary. It's actually probably more freeing than it is scary.
True. Again, but you have to have the will and really want to make that shift and really see it for what it's worth and enjoy it. And you're right. Once you're in it, I am free. I am literally like, I am not attached to anything. I can literally shut off everything. I personally, I am in that position where right now you tell me like, just take off the world, you can just live in the woods, I probably can do that. I have no problem. Like I'm not attached to, I'm enjoying live, and I love, the material stuff that's out there, and I'll enjoy it while it lasts. But if it's not there, I'm not missing it. I'll easily adjust. Exactly. It's good to have, but not necessarily having. You know what I mean? Not like, oh my God, I will die if I don't have these things. And a reality check for people. I'm not sure. I mean, you do get snowstorms and blizzards,
of course
in Canada. Yeah. So south here, we've got hurricanes. I'm not sure if you will get it, maybe, I don't know. The world is weird these days. The environment is crazy. But when we had, for example, Sandy in Jersey and New York, 2012, I believe, and for weeks, people were with no power and, all the necessities that we got so used to in today's world.
That's right.
TV, this. I mean, I remember my kids, they were younger, and we were just having board games. We just enjoyed that time. I mean, we had candles going on. We had, camping equipment going. I literally plugged my car and then just, did all the stuff that I needed to do. We had gas, and that's it. If not, we had the fireplace. So you adjust, but some people could not live that way. You know what I mean? Because they're not adapting to the environment, and a sudden change like that is devastating for them, because it's not. And again, it's not a judgment, but it's reality. Like, if we are aware that we can, and always prep, that we can be this or the other, because there are people that live in this world today that may not have the luxuries that you and I possibly have access to today.
Or we identify as luxuries.
That's right. Perfect. Well said. I mean, yes, we think it's luxuries, but these folks don't even have that. Their luxuries, they're not worried about those. They have other things to worry about.
They're not tethered to this stuff.
Well, not only they're not attached, but that's not even in their radar because, and frankly, before the social media and all the internet and stuff, most people didn't know unless they see it in the movies. Like, oh wow, they have this stuff right in this world. They're not even seeing that technology, the stuff we have, and therefore they're not adapting to it. But because now it's like a global village, and everybody is in one place, and everybody is seeing exactly instantly what's going on in every place in this world. We're all like, oh, I want more, I want more, I want. It's creating a whole world of competition and eagerness and really sometimes even jealousy and envy and all the stuff,
all that
bad energy. And but if you go back to the basics, like I still believe that I'm healthy, I am safe, I have a roof, and I can have a meal for the day. That's actually rich.
That's it.
Because you can have trillions of dollars, but any of those are missing right now. I mean, maybe the money is there, but you're not safe. Maybe the money is there, but your health is not in place.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Yeah, I mean, you might afford to go to a good hospital, maybe different from someone who doesn't have the money. But if your organs are not there, good luck finding an organ to change. Maybe if you're lucky, you will buy somebody's organ, right? But that's like, 1 in a billion chance, whatever.
That's
I mean, the odds are, but it's not the same. You're never going to be the same. Do you want to go through the knife? Do you want to? We have basic elements that if you agree to them and you are comfortable with them, then everything else becomes easy. If you're okay to start again from scratch, right? It happens. Sorry. You talk, pink slip happens, company shuts down. What are you going to do? Jump off the roof? Or okay, well, I made it this far. I can restart again. That's the other thing. We always forget where we started.
That's right.
We did start. Yeah. And if we start the first time, we can always restart, and we can always restart. And so as long as you prepare to do that, you will live in a different space. But again, the fear, oh my God, I got to do this. And I'm so attached to everything that is materialistic, then it becomes very difficult. Many people today are actually choosing to downsize and live a much simpler life. By the way, I'm not like, again, when I sound like this, but I do, I really encourage, if you can make it, if you want to have a yacht and a plane, do what it takes to get there, but you're not going to do it by working for somebody. I can tell you, maybe a small percentage is just going to do that. You're going to do it. You want to be free to do that and enjoy that. And that's the other thing. If you're working 100% and doing all the crazy stuff, well, what time would you have to enjoy? All these top billionaires and stuff, they actually have assets, things that are making money for them. And so they invested a lot of time, and now they're enjoying their life because they set up the system to actually have their time. Time is the most valuable asset that we have, and that's the 100%. One that we invest the wrong way.
That's right.
And that's really the biggest, problem, because that's one thing we're running out of every second. I mean, I talk to you, that's done. It's not coming back. It's over. The second is gone, and so on and so forth. What do we do? And again, these are all the concepts, but you and I are talking about it. Sounds like we understand each other, but we're not saying anything special in a way.
No.
We're just highlighting the obvious, right? We're just bringing it up to the surface. You talk about it, now it's outside. You see it, you can hear it, you can literally visualize what we're talking about. But most of us, that's something that's way deep, hidden, and it's not a reality that we want to check. So reality check. You can do this. And so, I mean, that was just my response to you, or my add-on to your piece.
Absolutely. It's great. It's one thing that I've learned, not only in my own journey, but also supporting others on their path, is when individuals are truly ready to expand their awareness, the opportunities will present themselves. So the adage of when a student is ready, the teacher will appear. It's the same thing about life. So those lessons that we have all had where they had to get really loud before we listened, it's the same thing. When we are ready to receive something and perhaps open our arms to say, okay, I'm ready for more, to be open for it, then the opportunities show themselves. Even to the point of, do I really need that extra XYZ item in my closet, for instance? Or The bigger question is, I'd like to unravel with you, is how does it make me feel? So if we go to a place of following the feelings, truly following the feelings, not the ego feelings, but the heart feelings, that will lead you down a very, very different path. So that's probably a call to action, per se, for the audience and for the listeners who are curious about it. Follow the feeling of what makes you feel good, not with the expectation of I'm doing it because I know I'm going to get an accolade from XYZ person. But it feels good to me to give selflessly. So I'm going to do that. And if you keep following that, it'll take you down a different path.
Definitely would. But it's amazing that we are caught up in that cycle where we want to do everything because of the accolade that, other people, we are living to justify things for other people and how they judge us, because it's big these days. I mean, I see it everywhere. People are judging everybody, in their own terms. And now there's not even no limits in the social media, for example. Everybody's have an opinion. They talk about everything and everybody is in your business. Oh, you dress down like, well, look, she's got money, he's got money, and he's dressed down, or vice versa. He's rich, but he's, who cares? I'm comfortable the way I am, But that's the thing. We are living in to satisfy everybody else, to actually literally just live up to everybody else's expectations as opposed to your own expectations. That's tremendous. It's funny you said something, but do I really need that extra piece? Well, I always tend to tell people this. Where do you sleep every day? In bed. How much of the bed do you take? I don't care how much you toss. I mean, maybe a queen size, maybe just a twin size, full size, whatever. You don't get about, a couple of feet of tossing and turning. Maybe that's how you roll, and that's it. That's your space. So you can live in a mansion. You're sleeping in that.
You're still going to speak that.
You have a big house, but do you really spend, every single, space in that house? Do you actually sit in every, corner of your house? Do you use every space in the house, or just because you have? Now, listen, I'm guilty. We all have, a good, structure, whatever. But you have to be aware. You're not doing it for that reason. You're doing it because, I'd rather have this than have something. Because, for example, mortgage right now, rentals, you can have a smaller place for a lot more money than what you have. So again, there's different dynamics, and you have to be also savvy in that aspect. But the idea is don't lose sight of the basics. This is what it is. How much food can you eat? You go to a buffet, it's plenty of food. You get 2 plates and you walk. That's what buffet make money. They know that you're not going to eat more than, I don't care how much, you can eat. You got to go a couple of plates down and that's it. So it is, you have to be aware of these things. And therefore, how you're going to operate. But you're right. You have to go on that route. You have to be ready and change for the better. But again, do not look at everybody else's judgment on you or expect everybody else. I don't care what people think, frankly. And again, it is a good feeling because you're free. You're not, you're not caught in their stuff. You say, I'm cheap. I don't dress nice. As a matter of fact, I can tell you one thing. All my shows, I wear t-shirts. I could literally put a suit on and do the show and just like regular shows, right? They do have, they look a certain look. I purposely, that's my formula. I would never put a suit on my show. And, now that I said it, I have to be careful. It's always good. But it is my concept because I don't want to subscribe to the same formula everybody else does. It's okay. I have my own way of doing it. I am me. You are you. Everybody is there. So again, there's this structure, and I'm the odd, person maybe, but it's okay. So, you want to be a little odd. You want to have your own flavor. And I think I encourage everybody to have their own signature. And by the way, all the success stories out there, and again, the word success here may mean different things, but that we know of, like people who have, influencers in the world, and they've achieved a lot of things that I'm not talking just the money, but just a level of awareness and so on and so forth. They have their own way. Some of them have plenty of money. They still drive a small car or an old car, whatever. Some people, they go out and, and they do presentations in a very casual way. They have their own way, and you watch them and you're like, wow. You would think they'd be in a different light. Now, can they afford to have all the other stuff? They can, but that's not who they are. It's not in their percent. And if they choose to do it, that's okay too. The key here is you determine what's comfortable, whatever makes you tick. That's it. But don't do it because somebody else is telling me how I have to look. You know, you're gonna hang on to stuff that is too expensive, whatever you can't even afford, and then you're gonna struggle, and then you're gonna blame the world for it. Blame yourself. You know, I've been there, and I blame myself because it was nobody forced me to go and buy stuff that I couldn't afford or whatever that's going to be in debt. Right. So I learned to listen, but we all should be aware of that. Now, can we avoid that? Potentially. There are a lot of people that talk about this stuff. Don't do this because this is what's going to happen. Most of us, we don't listen. And I can see that in my kids. You tell them, if you do this is what's going to happen. Well, Dad, you don't know nothing. I don't know nothing. I don't know anything. You're going to figure it for yourself. That's fine too. And I can tell you it's going to be bad if you went here and here based on my experience. Now you might have a different experience. That's okay. You want to figure out yourself. That's fine. But there are certain things that are almost pretty much already said. And, this is what's going to happen. This is the path. This is what's going to be the outcome. You do it. You want to invest some time in it and figure it out, and just spend a couple of years to just realize like, oh, you were right. That's fine. Maybe I'm not right. Your choice. So this is stuff that we all have the ability to actually kind of be aware of. So question for you. Now, you work with people to change their dynamics, their thought process. How do you do that? I mean, how do you get, like, I come to you, but I'm full of all traditional concepts. It is very difficult to just turn someone and switch them from like here to here, red pill to blue pill. I mean, it's going to take some work. What does that work look like in that process?
It must come from a place of the other person willing to see a different perspective. If you was to come to me and say, yeah, it's all great, but I don't believe you. And I'm like, okay, then you're not my client. If you're open and receptive to say, all right, I'm curious. Let's see what it unfolds. How else can you tell me that my life had greater meaning and there are a bunch of lessons that I can heal from and heal past, present, and future generations from intergenerational trauma? How do I do that? Then it's through conversation that I would do it, by sharing a different perspective, but also I would do it from the element of tuning in energetically on a soul level. So then that's when the energetic work comes in, and that happens simultaneously on a Zoom call. But it also happens outside of the Zoom call. If a client chooses to sign up with me, we have an agreement, we have consent, if you will, where they give me permission to work with their soul. And then I go in energetically and support that transition to make it a little bit easier in the physical, providing they let me energetically. But in the physical, we're still having these very mental conversations while we unravel and unpack that energetically, the energetic and emotional clutter, as I say. That then opens the intuition space. And when we open the intuition, then you feel more empowered and more aligned with your higher self. When we're aligned with our higher self, we're aligned to infinite source. And that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Well, but you do touch on something that many people are not comfortable with, and just the idea of like somebody's kind of change your energy level or dynamics. I mean, it sounds good, but most people are maybe leery about it. Like, how does that work? I mean, I'm sure that's part of the challenge, to get someone to accept that and the ability to open up to it. Maybe a lot more difficult. That, again, when you talk physical, people understand it. We talk spiritual energy, people don't get that concept well enough. So how do you kind of break that barrier from people?
There's a couple of analogies I want to give. So in the third dimension, in this earthly plane, somebody was to apply for a job. They read the description and go, oh my gosh, that looks like an amazing job. I'm going to apply. I'm on the other side going, okay, you've been accepted. you now get to work with me. So that open and receptivity is where the conversation begins. And that's where we work. On an energetic standpoint, it's like when you go into a restaurant and the restaurant's buzzing. It feels good. It feels inviting.
Mm.
That's vibrational frequency and energy. That's what we're playing with. Or you walk into a place and the staff's not happy, the behind the kitchen people are not so happy, the food tastes terrible. We've all been there.
Yeah, the atmosphere. Yeah.
Right. So that is vibrational frequency and energy also. So when individuals choose to work with the energy part of themselves, that's what we're playing with. You have an argument with somebody, we talk about it in a session, so to speak. We unwrap it and we look at what that pain point is. Guilt, shame, abandonment, anxiety. We unwrap that so it doesn't feel icky. And we unwrap it and present it from a different perspective. So it takes the heaviness away from it. And we transform the energy, because energy never dies, right?
That's right.
We just transform it. So I give you a different perspective for you to transform it. I'm in these sessions, I'm holding space. I'm not the fixer.
You guide people.
I guide, I mentor, I support you on your journey. I hold space. And I hold a lot of energetic space for individuals to just be and sit in all of that heaviness so they can feel supported.
Well, yeah, it's amazing. You refer to frequencies and energy, and actually those are as real as it gets. And again, people sometimes don't feel that. They don't, again, the word feel and energy can be felt, across anybody. You go to a room, you don't feel right in that room. You go to a different room and you feel so right. You are in presence of someone, and somehow there's almost like a clash in energy. There's like, this is like opposite attracts, as opposed to like, oh my God, I am vibing, that vibing, sensation. Everybody has experienced that, sometimes like, you may refer to them as my demons and your demons don't get along. We can refer to a lot of different ways. We have different expressions to say that. But sometimes, you do feel that like, oh, and again, we have attraction. Sometimes, two individuals, they meet and it's like clash, it's just like it's happening. And sometimes you meet someone and the minute you see them, you just cannot stand being with them in that same room. And those are real events, real experiences that we have, but we don't understand those because most of the time we keep that discussion very low-key or not even want to cross that path because it's kind of weird. Maybe it's a little too intense for many of people. Sometimes we are limited by our own, I guess, beliefs. And sometimes we don't condition that world compared to, for example, with our religions, if people are religious. Because I think that's the other thing, like people have certain sets of cultures and religious belief. And sometimes when you get to this realm of spirituality or energy, it's very well not real. Well, it's real, but it's not understood well. At least it's taboo. It's like what are we talking about here? Is this witchcraft? Is this like what are you gonna do? Cast a spell on me? People do have these feelings, and because that's how we are, I guess, trained to think. Exactly. And so but understanding the dynamics of it, I mean, there's a world that that we exist in. I mean, we do have things. You have intuition. You have sensation. You have people that are, it's funny. I mean, my wife and I, we always laugh because I'll think of something at the same time as she would think. And it's really the same thing. Like, I will look at something and I say the same, like I was going to say that. And I say the same thing, it materializes and manifests, and people don't, that's total chemistry. And again, the chemistry is, again, the world is physics and chemistry. These are all things that are happening in the atomic level. And to your point, all the energy in the world is just, connected to, as a matter of fact, I remember something in physics where if basic of physics, we say we have the atoms and we have, the electrons and you got the protons floating around, right?
That's right.
And so, but there's 90% empty. So technically everything we see is energy and everything is 90% empty. So what is the material world, right? And then we start thinking about the visual world that we experience is through our senses. But our senses are all a bunch of electric signals that go to our brain, and the brain interprets and gives you the interpretation of those sensations. Again, we're talking about electric and energy and stuff. So we understand that, and we apply the rules of physics in most of the discussions we have, and we understand it physically. But when it gets to the realm of energy and frequencies and stuff, people get a little, touchy-feely about it. And again, quantum physics is the real thing, and it's beyond what we understand, and most of us, may not comprehend what that looks like. But there is a room in there. Again, talking about the matrix, I mean, literally, there was a day, one time I broke this down to someone that looked at me like, you're a completely lunatic, you lost it. Because I literally got him to see that whatever we see in may not be exactly what it is, and I can prove it's not. And so, and I went from the physics, I went from religion, and I connected both, and they looked at me like, that's it. Yeah. Your brain is completely fried.
You're done.
Like, all right. And I'm like, okay. So, I know, I got the red pill. I understand, you're still in the blue pill. It's okay. You're not ready to accept that. And when you do, then you understand a lot of things about the world that you live in, and your behavior is going to shift. But until then, it's not, many things are not understood because of our own barriers and limitations, and again, the willingness to accept understanding and knowledge. Not everybody wants to know.
That's right. There's a huge fear there. Absolutely.
It is. Well, again, I mean, you work with this, and you kind of transform people basically, from one level to the other, and open up their mind to see it differently, and really know to live in a different world. I mean, it's the same planet, but you live in a different world within the same planet, and that's something that like, how is that even possible? There are possibilities. Again, the willingness to open up to them is what remains. Now, so what would be a time frame for someone, for example, to work with you to kind of change? I mean, I'm assuming the time would vary from one person to the other, but like a typical workload that you would have with someone from start to finish, what would, is it years, a few months, is it a couple of years? Because just people will probably like, well, if I choose to get this mentorship and this teaching concept, what does that mean? Also, a question to add to that is that, well, I'm religious, how does that barrier cross? Because I don't want to cross the line.
Sure.
What would you say to people?
The fundamentals of every single religion comes from a place of pure spirituality.
Say no more.
That's it. So if somebody is steeped in their religion, I'm happy to work with them. Do I come from a place of from religion? No. I come from a place of spirituality, from a scientific perspective, but also from an energetic perspective. But if your faith is a fundamental core piece of who you are, but you're curious to delve into this space, I invite you.
And so what that journey looks like in terms of time?
That looks like a 12-month journey. However, that is based on your open receptiveness and your own work. So we would meet every single week on a Zoom call, and we would go through what is showing up. So the work needs to be done. There will be homework, there will be activities, there will be tasks, if you will, that I would request you to do during this journey. The more receptive you are in integrating the information into your daily life, the faster you will get to the finish line, and the more gracefully you will get to the finish line, so to speak, in terms of shifting your life in a full 360 in a positive way. It doesn't mean you're going to end the relationships and all that. No, it just means your life is going to look with more balance and more harmony and more ease, rather than that struggle and uphill battle. So roughly around 12 months.
It is a commitment.
It's a huge commitment. But if you want your life to change.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, a lot of us sometimes want immediate change. And, and I don't think there is such a thing as immediate change. You might shift your mind immediately, but the work's going to take some time to actually achieve what you need to achieve. And again, it may change from one person to the other, but at the end of the day, nothing's going to happen overnight. Nothing is that quick. I mean,
that's right.
It's just fact, right? But again, people watching and listening, this is a journey that you have to take, and you have to have the willingness, and you have to have acceptance. To your point, receiving and be able to be receptive to the guidance and to the work, and you got to be part of it. You got to be active.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Also, from just an add-on is, how long have we been in a space of it's not working, it's not working, it's not working? So to honestly unravel that in a weekend retreat or a couple of workshops, it's not realistic. You can do it, like you said, you can do it surface level, but fundamentally on an energetic level, from your entire being, from every single atom and cell in your energetic body, that wiring takes time to unravel.
So are there any like Ayurvedic or Reiki type of things that you use, or what's some of the, I guess, the process or some of the fundamentals that you use with people? Because people probably ask, well, how do you work with this realm?
So Reiki is a fabulous tool, and it's an energetic tool. So it primes you to feel energy. Mm-hmm. The work that I do and guide others to do as well, because my philosophy is the tool belt of skills and principles that I have learned to navigate my own life is for me to say, here, you can have them too. Because my objective is to empower you. Is on a I would say a much elevated scale than where Reiki is. I'm not knocking Reiki. I think it's a fabulous tool to do. But when you start working with a higher and expanded element of consciousness, then you get to soul level. That's a very different way of navigating an energy.
Well, listen, I wouldn't know where to begin. So I know I understand the concept, but it is a higher level of understanding and operating, and again, to get to that point, he's got to have, and that's the reason why I ask, because not everybody may be capable of comprehending, the concept behind it. And so that's where the question becomes, arrival for people. So thank you for clarifying that. Now, are there any, sometimes there are in these processes, maybe there's different tools that you use at home or things that you do, meditation, maybe, maybe just removing yourself from some material world. Are there any of these things that, I know that's part of what you do, but just some highlights. Absolutely. If you don't.
Absolutely. High level, I would say stillness, whatever that looks like for you. It could be meditation. It could be being really present while you're washing the dishes or making dinner or going for a walk, but being present, listening to your heartbeat, not having your pods on when you're out in public, being really present. That, I think, is one of the big things that people have missed out on, so to speak, because we love distractions. There's always a podcast we want to listen to, right? There's always...
Well, we want them to hear this one.
We do, absolutely. There's always something that's distracting us because we're always striving to be there and to be there and to be there and to be there. So to pull back, bring your awareness to yourself. What does it feel like to really be in the body? Can I feel my heart beating? Can I feel where my breath is coming from? Is it coming just from my lungs or is it coming from my diaphragm? Can I feel my toes? Can I feel the base of my feet? So to bring your awareness into your body, because we've been trained to think outside. What's going on over there? Let me watch that movie. That series has got rave reviews, so we must watch it. I got to converse here. Our attention is outside. We need to flip that and bring the attention inside. Spend time there. And then I would say a really beautiful spot, which is going to be no surprise to anybody, is to go in nature. Be it you go for a walk or you go by the water, spend time with this beautiful planet.
Well, pretty much all the greats in the world have used some level of meditation and just pondering and in nature, at sea. I mean, there's a lot of ways to do this, but you're right. I mean, but we have so many distractions right now around us that we're not, to your point, aware and really full aware, self-aware, if you want to call it that way. And it is not easy. And you're right. It takes a lot of discipline, a lot of practice to get to that level of I am here in me. I am listening to your point, my heartbeat, my breathing, and again, there's a level of that in meditation. I mean, yoga does help a little bit. There's a lot of practices that can do that. And, but it's not just for an easy process. It's not something that you can just press the button and flip and then it's going to happen. Right. It's got to take some time. Wow. So that's pretty intensive stuff.
It is. Well, we get to the root cause of it, right? If you want Band-Aids, I'm not your gal.
Well, listen, I mean, this discussion is pretty powerful. I mean, we talked about a lot of, the real thing. And I hope that audiences can take some of that and really work with it. And certainly if someone needs the assistance, I'm assuming you do consultations and talk to people. So I'll have the link to your, I think, let me see if I have it. brightshininglight.com, right? That's
me. Yes. Thank you.
All right. So you shine the light, right? And make the light bright. So I love it.
That's right.
So that will be in the description of the show, so people can definitely link up to you and inquire. And I love the idea that you said it through Zoom, which means that really worldwide, operations. So gotta love technology today. It made it so easy for people to connect. Yeah. It wasn't as a resource before. Now it is, and it's changed the world of connection. And talking about energy, right?
Everything is.
Yeah. So listen, any last advice to our audiences for today's show?
Be kind to yourself on this journey. If you choose to step into this and expand your awareness, don't should yourself. Be kind to yourself as you peel back one layer at a time. Don't, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done that. No, it's okay. You didn't do it yesterday. That's okay. We can do it today. It's okay. Because we beat up on ourselves so much with external support. When we do it internally ourselves, we're not helping ourselves. Even though we're on a self-help journey, which has got so much traction. I call it soul help. But the objective is for you to be kind to yourself.
That's plenty. If we can apply all that, I think we will start changing, tremendously. Now, your podcast is Master of Your Crafts.
That's right. Yes.
All right. So people can actually listen to it, and it's available, in all podcast directories, Spotify,
everywhere.
Apple.
That's right.
All right. So now you heard it. Master of Your Crafts, and definitely shining. Hold on, let me just get
Bright Shining Light.
brightshininglight.com. Again, do find the actual links into both links to the podcast as well as to the website. So you have access to it now, and hopefully that we've given enough good vibes here and good frequency that if you can just take some of it right now on the road, it's gonna at least open up your eyes.
Right.
And this is like almost you just kind of tuned in and opened up
That's
the
right.
satellite. Now you have the dish open. So now it's whatever you want to receive. And we keep it in the context of frequency, right?
There you go. I love it. Love it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And I enjoyed tremendously the discussion. And, I learned as well. And, it's always good to reinforce some of the notions that we have. And
Absolutely.
the more you hear about things, the more you can kind of relate to it sometimes, and also just kind of be mindful of things and aware. So I am fully aware right now. Let's see how long it's going to last. I got to keep it up. Right? All right.
Doing great. Beautiful. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Thank you.
My pleasure. And so, folks, this is it. This is the end of the show. I hope you enjoyed it. And so we'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new topic, new guest. Bye for now.